Hello, and welcome to the final day of Rising Sun previews. We're going to get a final set of cards, and then tomorrow we get the full set release.
Hello.
So, yes, and
I'm here too.
and yes, once again, I am joined by my very special guest.
Yay.
Yeah. Uh,
I have been spoiled, unfortunately, about Divine Wind, and I blame the Coven server.
okay, well, I knew that there was a thing called Divine Wind because that was part of the guessing game, but other than that, I don't know. So without any further ado, let's get into it. For the last day of previews, Donald X just has some stuff he felt like showing off. So starting with 3 cards, the first of which is another Omen card. So this is the 4th Omen card that we've seen, or is it the 5th? It's the 5th, right? Because there's Mountain Shrine on day 3. Yeah, so this is the 5th out of 6 Omen cards. Kitsune, 5 cost, action, attack, Omen, +1 Sun token. Choose 2 different options. +2 actions, +2 coins. Each other player gains a curse. Gain a silver.
Love it. I love it.
Are you talking about the art or the card?
The card, the artist. I think the art is fine. I'm not over the moon like I was with the other Class Stefan entries so far, but I also don't hate it either. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I love the card. I love the choosing stuff.
You like choices?
I like choices. No, it seems very versatile. It's gonna combine well with Elder. I like the
True.
I like the variety. I like that it's not like usually you get like actions, cards, buys things. Well, maybe not necessarily buys, but yeah. So I like that it doesn't have the cards option. I like the curse option. Yeah, I don't know. This feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, art-wise this doesn't quite hit my mental image of like Kitsune.
What
I'm
is
not sure
Kitsune?
exactly why. It's like a
Well,
I mean, it's a
demon
fox,
or like a
but yeah, well, not demon necessarily,
or a
but like
god
a
or
like
something?
some kind of
A spirit.
Spirit, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly why, but it just doesn't quite evoke what I would have expected it to evoke. But I like the background, and it's like kind of Van Gogh. Anyway, so I think like this is not okay. So like this activates a prophecy. We've kind of talked before about like, you know, how powerful is that? It's hard to say. Putting that aside, I think so if you're not cursing with this, I think baseline it's not very strong. There's a couple cards we could compare this with. So like +2 actions, +2 coins compares unfavorably with Festival, which also gives you a buy. +2 actions gain a silver kind of compares with Squire or Town Crier, where, well, less so Town Crier, I guess, but like, you know, for like those, Squire and Town Crier can both gain a silver. Squire also gives you a coin while it's doing it. Can also give you the +2 actions. Town Crier can give you the actions, but it can give you the silver. And it can also give you +2 coins. The point being those cards cost 2, so like it's a pretty like big price increase for like the getting that additional effect.
Yeah.
So I think like for this card to be good, you do really need to be giving out curses with it, which obviously is a powerful effect in general, so that's fine. So like, but I guess I think as cursors go, this is not one of the stronger ones, although, you know, there will be situations where this is your village as well. And then I think at that point it is pretty strong, even though having a non-drawing village is a little sad, or potentially a lot sad. The
Mhm.
fact that like it is the village and that it is also giving out curses, I think at that point, like it might be awkward and it might be like a slow board if that's what's going on, but it's still like the card is still providing a lot of value at that point.
You just have to have the chameleon, and then it's a lost city.
True,
Easy.
true. Yes, this is definitely better with Chameleon,
What I was wondering,
just like
um,
Festival is.
so yes, I agree, that it's a high price point. What I was wondering, and I don't remember from the other previews, but like a 5 cost Omen, I just don't know like how relevant the Sun token is going to be if it's a 5 cost.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is the first. This is the most expensive Omen card we've seen. Like Mountain Shrine is 5 debt, so you can open it. Um, the this like most of the time, obviously, you're not going to be able to open it. So the Omen or the prophecies will come online later into the game. I don't think that makes it irrelevant.
Mm.
But it might. This might be the Omen, at least of what we've seen so far, where like you're most likely to see the prophecy either not come online or come online pretty late in the game. Because not only, okay, the fact that you can't open it obviously slows it down by, well, sometimes you can open it, but assuming you can't, then that slows the Omen down by a full shuffle. But then on top of that, the fact that it is a stop card junker means like, and potentially also if you gain silvers with it, that's additional stop cards. So like it's going to inherently slow down shuffles for potentially both players, which will also slow down the rate at which the omens come online, or sorry, the prophecies come online. So yeah, I think this is like, of the omens we've seen so far, this is pretty easily going to be like the slowest to bring the prophecies online, which is good. I think, like just in the sense that having like some diversity there is good. I think
Hmm.
like that's I wouldn't want every prophecy game to feel like the prophecies coming online around the same time, barring some other like specific interaction that either like speeds it up or slows it down. So the fact that you're gonna have like some games where this is the omen and then it's like slower as a consequence, I think is good for the variety of it. um yeah, so like I think I don't think this is like an amazing card as cursors go. Like cursors, like there's kind of like they can only be like so bad, I guess, for the most part. Maybe that's not entirely true because Sea Hag was pretty bad, but like you play with Trickster sometimes, and like this is better than Trickster. Um,
Yeah.
like I think it's pretty comfortably better than Trickster. It should generally be better than Soothsayer. So like it can't be that bad. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to be Witch like level. Like that seems pretty clear. But well, and barring the Omen stuff, like I
Hmm.
who knows how that affects it, but
Hmm.
it's definitely playable, and I think that's a good power level for a cursor to be anyway. Like I think it's you don't want too many of your cursors to be as strong as Witch, because then it gets a little bit you know like too obvious that you're just gonna get it.
Hmm.
So yeah. Any other thoughts on Kitsune?
I was thinking of how it combines with prophecies or with events and stuff. I just like the multiple choice aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I find that pleasing.
Yeah. And the flexibility is definitely nice. I guess I just part of me looks at Gain of Silver and thinks,
Yeah, that
how often am
seems,
I going to use
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. For sure that one is interesting. Um a curious addition.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, next up is rice. 7 cost treasure, +1 buy, +1 coin per different type among cards you have in play.
All right.
Okay. Um, I like I like the art. I guess I would have liked it even more if this weren't a treasure. But in action, I think that would have, like, the contrast would have been even better. So that's my one note. Other than that, I like this design a lot. I like the composition. Beautiful. Okay, so how many types? Is that different type among cards? Does that mean, like, is the Kitsune, would that be like 3 plus the treasure?
Yeah, it's
4?
the same as like for
Okay.
like how you measure it for courtier or maroon or whatever. It's just like how many words are there next to the between the cost and the expansion symbol.
Yeah, but like with rice, it doesn't have to be one card. So
Yeah,
it's
yes.
like cumulative. So this could
Right.
potentially be really, could be a lot of value.
Yeah, it could. It could.
Plus the buy.
Right.
That's yeah. That's a pretty good treasure, I would say. It's like, you, depending on what your deck is, if you just put rices there. By the way, I love how rice is a treasure. That seems correct to me. Yeah, so this could potentially just be all of your payload, right? Because it adds the treasure. I mean, like, combine it with loots and you get more types and more money. But that's true with pendant as well. I don't know. It seems like a good card to me. What do you think?
Yeah. So the obvious comparisons with this are to bank and to pendant. This has plus buy on it, which out of the gate makes it gives it an advantage. But I think it also speaks to the fact that this is going to be, in general, harder to make worth a lot.
You think?
Yes. So like bank just requires that you have a bunch of treasures. Like it's not necessarily easy to do that because you need draw, but it's easy in the sense that they're like literally just having a bunch of coppers is sufficient, even that's not like a particularly good approach. Whereas like if the kingdom just has treasures and actions, which is a thing, like that can happen, then this can never be any better than like a fancy silver, which is going to be fairly rare. Like, but
I mean, like, fancy, like a silver that gives you a buy.
Yeah, but that's not worth 7. Like,
sure.
Yeah, like that's why I say fancy silver. Like we don't have like a +2 coins +1 buy treasure that's all that it does. You could say like spices without the coffers or something. Like obviously that's not good for 7. That's going to be fairly
+2 coins +1 buy is like nomads, right?
Yeah, messenger. But that's an action.
Oh, you mean a treasure?
Yeah. So yeah, you could say non-terminal nomads or messenger spices. Or whatever. Yeah, spices without the coffers, whatever. The point, if it's making 2 coins, it's bad. That is going to be fairly rare, but it will happen. It being able to make at least 3 is certainly going to be more common. And at that point, it's a loot. So at that point, like, I mean, it's a generic loot, right? Doesn't have any like loot powers or whatever.
But it's a loot that you can buy.
And if you're going to get the plus buy, and also everybody's complaints there, get mitigated in that context. So like. I mean, although granted, a lot of times it is effectively cheaper to buy to gain loot other ways that you gain loot than to pay 7 for it. I mean, looting would be the most obvious example of this, but
true.
But still, like a loot you can buy, like at that point, it's like pretty solid. It's not amazing, but it's fine. Where I think it really starts to like be impressive is if you can get past that threshold. So if you think about like the different types that you're likely to have, like obviously action treasure, like you're gonna have those like basically anytime. It would be weird to be playing this card if you didn't have actions to combine it with.
Yes.
But like the 2 most common types aside from that are probably duration and then attack in that order, I would guess.
Yeah.
So like it's gonna be fairly common that you can get that. Like obviously, like if there's like a split pile, Well, not all split piles, because like, something like Empire split piles don't have this, but like an
Yeah.
Allies split pile, you've got things like the Omens here. You've got
Castles.
yeah, sure, castles, I guess. I mean, Doom cards,
Reaction cards.
reactions. Yeah, what's the? It's not boon. It's what's the, like, Blessed Village and Bard are.
Isn't that Boone?
Boon is the thing that you get, like Hex. But the Hex givers are Doom cards, and the Boon givers are something. I don't remember. Whatever. Like, the, spirits,
Mm-hmm.
trying to think what else is like, knights.
Night cards.
Knight, yeah. Of all, knights and knights.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's and then just like multi-types, like, action victory, like for nobles or mill or something like that. There's also like reserve cards,
Mm-hmm.
travelers,
Oh, no. Not the.
like you
Yeah.
mentioned loot. There's also looters, ruins. So there's like, there's a lot of stuff there. So I guess, there's some math you could do in theory to like determine, what are the odds of having however many types. Although in practice, like, just because you have however many types present on the board doesn't mean you're going to have them all present, like, in your deck and be able to draw it all and play it all. But I think, I think, like I said, once this crosses the threshold from 3 to 4, it gets like really good. Like 4 coins and a buy for 7 is really good. Like, is like it. That's maybe really good is strong. Like, I guess it depends on, like, do you think platinum is really good value? Like, it's pretty good value for 9 coins, 4 coins and a buy for 7 seems like kind of comparable to that. If it gets to 5, obviously it's better than platinum. That's pretty amazing. Like, and I think that will happen sometimes. It's just a question of how often. And the nice thing about this is that you don't need any other treasures to make it work. I mean, sometimes the other treasures will be contributing to it, but like, if you compare it to Bank and Pendant are both dependent on you drawing and playing a bunch of treasure. This card doesn't care about that. Like, it is itself a treasure. I mean, sometimes the treasures will have the other types, but more often it'll be the actions that have the other types. And you can just play in like an action dense deck with that, deck control from your actions, and then just play like some rice, and
which is amazing.
A whole bunch of
that is what I see. And like, especially if you compare it to Bank, it's just like, what is Bank even? So this, which makes sense, right? Because like, Bank is such an old card.
I mean, Bank does have more upside than this, like pretty comfortably. Like, the Bank is basically unbounded in how much money it can generate, and this is definitely not.
Sure, but like, Bank just requires you to have, like, in order to generate this much payload, you have to have a lot of treasures. And if these treasures are crowns, then that's fine. But like, if it requires you to have like actual treasures in your deck, if like that's not, I mean, it also it all depends on like the kingdom. Sure. But I mean, you can play rice on your storyteller too.
Well, yeah, but that's less likely to be like particularly good. My point is, like, there are contexts where you could have,
I know, but to me it seems like the context in which rice is better than Bank are
more common.
Yeah,
no, I think this is a better card than Bank. I think that you will get this more often than Bank. The plus buy is a big part of that. But also, yes, the fact that it isn't dependent specifically on other treasures, I think is like a major factor. And I do think this is a better card than Bank. That's not like a particularly high bar to clear, but
sure. Imagine this with Black Market, and you've already played like other stuff, and then like this turns into. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think I guess I ultimately I don't think this, like, I don't think this card is going to be so much better than Bank that it's going to be like, it's going to be actively rated as like super strong. Like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like it is just money, and that tends to only go so far. Um, but I think it will be like it'll still be good. Like I guess I just like what does good mean? It's a little hard to say. Like without knowing like what the average or typical case is for like how many different types you have. So like how many kingdoms will it get to three? How many kingdoms will it get to four? How many kingdoms will it get to five? I kind of feel like I need to know that to know like how good it is. But I think even if it was getting to like very reliably to like 4 or 5 coins, I still think it's only going to be like as good as like the deck control that you can combine it with.
Yeah,
So
agreed. Okay, moving on.
moving on.
Moving on to Riverboat,
Mm-hmm.
a 3 cost duration card. At the start of your next turn, play the set aside card, leaving it there. Set aside an unused non-duration action card costing 5. So it's kind of like a innovation ferryman type of, well, delayed innovation ferryman type of thing. Which, let me talk about the art first.
Okay.
I think this art suffers dramatically from it being a duration card because I feel like the artist should have been given, I don't know if this happened actually, but to me it feels like the artist wasn't made aware of that it was going to have an orange frame.
Right.
Although actually, like, saying that makes it seem very unlikely. It seems like an important piece of information. Anyway, I
I don't know.
wish.
I think sometimes the art, like, maybe this isn't true anymore, but I think at least it used to be the case. Like we've all heard the story about Goon's art, right? Like I think sometimes the connection between like the mechanical things that are going on for cards and the art is not always like super like clear at the point at which the art needs to be requested.
What is the story behind Goons?
The Goons art wasn't supposed to be the art for Goons. It was supposed to be the art for Pawn, and then like it looked too like tacky or whatever, and so like I mean, and maybe Pawn was like going to be the name of a different card or something. Like maybe like there was like a version of Goons that was called Pawn or something like that. But basically, like they got the art and they're like, well, this looks like it should be an attack card, and so then like we ended up with Goons from a design standpoint. Like the art like came before
Oh,
the
okay.
design did, at least
Okay.
parts of the design.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, Riverboat screams duration, so I don't
Oh yeah,
I don't see
that's
how
true. That's true. Yeah.
in any case, what I'm trying to say is I think a little more contrast would have benefited this. I think it's like from the pure like motive and execution, I have no notes. I think this is beautiful, but yeah, as a duration card, I think it's too dark. Yeah, I would have liked. I feel like it's, yeah, it would have been better to have different contrasts and have the color scheme a little bit brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I'm like looking at Rice, which I think is like really nice and clean art, and like it also doesn't have a lot of contrast. But I mean, I agree with you, but I think for whatever reason, it just kind of works
yes,
with Rice, and I'm not really sure why that is. But I think maybe it's just because like the yellow is already like a lighter like shade or something. But it like yeah, it is. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, so you're going to talk about the mechanics now of Riverboat, I think.
yes. So just so I understand this correctly, it's not leaving the card there. So you can play, let's say, I don't know, let's say the set aside card is a village. So you get the riverboat, and then you play the riverboat, and like from then on, every time you play the riverboat, the next turn, at the start of the next turn, you will play the village. Yeah, it's not a one-time thing.
Yep.
That's interesting. It feels a little convoluted, to be honest. It's like why not just have the kingdom pile of the card? Like, this feels like a weird placeholder to me, and it's like slowing it down, right? You can't obviously, like, if you play a riverboat every turn, then you will have the set aside card every turn.
At the beginning of your turn.
Yes.
Which is potentially better. And it also only costs 3, but it can set aside a card costing up to 5. So I mean, what this essentially is a command card. It doesn't say command on it, which is interesting, and I'm not really sure why it doesn't. Like, I mean,
because
I guess
I think command is just you have a choice, right? And here you don't.
Yeah, I guess that's the reason, and or that it doesn't need to block interactions with other command cards, but it is behaving like a command card, right? It's just a command card that can only target one thing.
Yeah. And it's not, like I said, it's not an innovation ferryman because it's not only on gain, but every time.
Well, it's not on gain at all.
Yes. Okay.
I actually think this is a pretty cool concept. Like, I think, you can kind of see what any given effect, well, non-duration effect would look like if you turned it into a duration. Like, we have all kinds of duration cards that are taking particular effects and turning them into, something that is a duration, right? But like, this is like, well, okay, rather than having to make the duration version of, X or Y or Z, what if you could just, like, at any given time happen to have the duration version of X or Y or Z? So I think it's pretty cool. And I mean, it will play differently. Like, having Riverboat Village will play differently than having Village, like, for sure, because the first turn that you play, like, the first Riverboat, like, it's terminal, you can't use it as Village, but then the next turn you're going to get, like, it's going to increase your hand size, and it's going to give you, like, net 2 actions. So now you're going to have 6 cards and 3 actions at the start of your turn, like, which is like a stronger effect than a single village can do.
No, of course. But, like, isn't the natural progression going to be, like, you want to play your riverboat every turn so that you get the effect every turn?
Well, sure, maybe. Yeah, I mean, probably. That's often the way that it goes with durations.
I don't know. It feels weird to me. How do you feel about the cost situation where, like, this costs 3, but then you can have a witch or something?
Yeah, but it's slower, right? So it's like, it's cheaper, but it's slower.
At first it's slower, but if the goal is to have this every turn...
Yeah, so you need to pick up 2 of them.
Pretty powerful.
You need to pick up 2 of them to get the effect of 1, but having it be a duration effect adds some, like, reliability and stuff. Like,
not really 2 for the effect of 1, because you're not, like, this is still faster than gaining, like, 2/5 costs.
Yes,
right?
But if you want to play a witch every turn and you get 1 riverboat, you're only playing it every other turn. So you need to get a second one to play it every turn.
Yeah. No, I know. So but still, like, the cost of 2 of this is, like, still more achievable than gaining 2/5 costs. And being able to play them every turn.
But playing them every turn, like, is going to be, like... It is...
The cost feels wonky to me. But of course it depends on...
Yeah, I mean, it might set
what
aside...
the set-aside card is.
Yeah, it might set aside, like...
A monument.
A vagrant.
A poorhouse. A beggar.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes this card is going to be complete trash because it's like a duration version of beggar, like, no, thank you. But sometimes it's going to be amazing. Sometimes it's going to be like, I don't know, you can open with, like, 3 cost hunting party or a 3 cost charlatan or yeah, like witch or whatever. Yeah, that'll it's all over the place. I mean,
Yeah,
assessing the
that for
strength of
sure.
this seems really difficult.
Yeah, it's like if it's good, it's really good. If it's bad, it's like a non-existent kingdom pile.
Yeah, yeah, but I like even more so than Ferryman because like every game with Ferryman has Ferryman. Yeah, okay, that seems obvious, but like
No, no, no,
what
I
that
know what
means
you
is that you're
mean.
putting that, like, if you get the Ferryman, you're putting these fugitives into your deck, and that's the effect that they have.
Yeah.
But this card, every time it shows up, it's going to be something different. Like you're, it's just going to feel different, like every time, and I think that's cool. Like it's like, I mean, having a duration, like, witch may not be like the most different thing in the world because we've already got, like Sea Witch, for example, which isn't like super different from that. But um no, there's going to be other things where it's just like, yeah, this is like not particularly similar to, like, I mean, just I think I mentioned duration hunting party. Like, well, the idea of having duration draw or duration actions is like something we've seen before. But duration hunting party, where it's like you it also does like a ton of cycling potentially, and like can find very specific cards, just like not something we've had to think about before. And like, what does that mean? I said like, oh, you can open duration hunting party. I mean, is it possible that's not as good as I think it is? Like, maybe. I don't know. I haven't had to think about that before. Um, so yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, I guess 5 is the most common cost in Dominion, but it's not the majority of costs. Um,
I
even
think it's
throwing
like
out costs over 5, the I think there's the well, and we can put aside Poorhouse, I guess, but like the combination of 4s, 3s, and 2s. There's definitely more 4s plus 3s plus 2s than there are 5s. So more often than not, this is going to set aside a card that costs less than 5,
mm,
which is notable, I think, in terms of how powerful this is going to actually tend to be. Of course, how powerful it's going to tend to be doesn't really matter because, like, on any given board, like, it's going to set aside a particular card, and then what you really care about is like how good is that particular card. But
yeah, yeah. So you think that's why it costs 3?
oh, not necessarily. I'm just observing that, like, you see this and you start getting excited about like the 5 cost
The
stuff.
governors and the
Yeah,
seers
that you
and the
might
recruiters.
that you might have, but like it's just like be prepared for the fact that this is going to set aside like more 4s, 3s, and 2s than it is
I
5s.
will not. I will be disappointed every time.
Well, that's your choice, I suppose. Yeah, I think it actually goes linearly, like within that price range, and probably also even if you include other costs. Like, I think it linearly goes like the most common is 5, and then 4, and then 3, and then 2. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. I think we could move on to reading Donald X's comments about these cards.
Let's.
So, Kitsune is another omen. It's the fabled witch that can do something else when the curses run out.
Like,
Yeah,
gain a silver. Yay.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, not the most exciting, like, do another thing when the curses run out, but it is true.
Yeah.
Rice can make you oodles of money, but would like you to field a variety of card types. Let's see. Action, treasure, omen, shadow, duration. Yeah. Those are
Oodles.
He didn't list attack in here. I thought maybe he was trying to list all the types that we have gotten confirmed in Rising Sun, but he didn't mention attack, so I guess not.
Can we talk about oodles?
Oodles, yeah.
Why? What? How? Who?
It's a word that means a lot.
It's not a typo.
No,
It's
it
gonna
isn't.
make you noodles of money.
It's not a typo.
I have never heard this word before.
Wonder if yeah, well, it's a word.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but oodles of noodles would be nice. All right, so Riverboat does something good next turn. I could have made all of those cards individually, and instead here's Riverboat. Yes, exactly. That's what I said.
What does that mean? I don't understand.
Well, it's like you could individually design, like, take any non-duration card and make a duration version of it.
Oh.
But
okay.
instead, you just have Riverboat, and now you have a
Mhm.
duration version of all of them. Huzzah! Yeah. All right. Now we move on to
I have to get the Divine Wind
the landscapes.
out of the way. I'm gonna read it to you. Divine Wind, it's a prophecy. When you remove the last omen, the last sun token, sorry, remove all kingdom card piles from the supply and set up 10 new random piles.
What? when you do this, play a new game of Dominion. What? That's so silly.
Yeah.
That is okay. I will just say this. That is the most ridiculous thing that has been printed in Dominion.
It sounds to me like Donald X lost a bet or something. And like, this is the result. I will say, like, these previews kind of, I mean, I have no idea about like programming and stuff, but it does seem like it requires a lot of implementation and new, I don't know, new mechanics and stuff. I don't know.
This is yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I think I pretty much covered it. Did I not? I'm just
no,
kidding.
no. Let's go into detail.
Right. Okay. So
basically, what this means is you have 7 turns. Let's say 7 to 8 turns to get your hands on as many like sensible cards from your kingdom, and then it's just whew, we play a new game now.
Oh my god.
Which I think is cool. I think this sounds super fun. Of course it's like variable, right? It can turn a miserable kingdom into a great kingdom.
Or the opposite. Right.
I don't know. It sounds really fun. It sounds really, really bonkers.
Completely bonkers.
It definitely sounds like straight out of someone. What is like the card variants thing? It's like someone's silly idea of like.
Yes.
Have I ever told you? I have a friend who has played Dominion in his family. Like, it's kind of their family game. But for some reason, I don't know if they never read the rules or anything, but they never only put out 10 kingdom piles, but like all of the piles, just all of them. And when I told them about Dominion Online, like the first thing they said to me is like, it's so weird that you only get 10 piles. So I don't know, this kind of reminds me of that. Like,
wouldn't you just end up playing the same deck every time if you
I mean, I assume they only had
King's Court every time.
yeah, it's kind of silly, but yeah, this just does it sounds very unrestrained.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
this is absurd. First and foremost, I fully anticipate that there will be a tournament in the not too distant future that is like Divine Wind in every kingdom, and you just don't know what game you're actually playing until like some ways into it. It's like very very ridiculous. I guess okay, so you set up I'm just, for whatever reason, my mind is immediately going into like weird stuff. So you set up 10 new kingdom piles, but you already have the other ones. It says remove all kingdom card piles from the supply, but stuff that isn't in the supply is still there. So like if you open peasant on one of these boards, you can still move your peasant up the line, even though like the peasants are all gone. But you have to make sure that you get all the peasants you want so that you can get those disciples before the peasants go away, for example. But if you have them, like you can still go up the line because wait, maybe you can't.
But like
because
for
where does
stuff
the
like
peasant go when you turn it
yeah,
in?
and for stuff like horses or
Well, horses aren't in the supply anyway.
but travelers are in the supply?
No, that's why they don't go away. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe a peasant itself would not be able to like exchange because you can't return the peasant because the kingdom pile doesn't exist anymore. But if you have like a soldier, you can return the soldier. Maybe? I don't know why this is the first thing I started thinking about, but it is. Like,
Sorry, I didn't understand. Like horses are in the supply?
no, horses are not in the supply.
And travelers are not in the supply either.
The ones that aren't the starting one are not in the supply. So they'll still be sitting there next to the kingdom. Same thing with like spirits.
But why? What? No,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like if you remove the card that would give you
But you don't
a spirit.
but you don't unset up those things. So yeah, I mean there won't be if Exorcist was in the
But
kingdom.
saying like a horse is just like there if there's a card that gives you a horse, and if you remove the card that gives you a horse, then surely like the horse vanishes.
No, because
not?
because the instructions are when, is something along the lines of when like any card that like generates horses, like you put out the horses like as part of setup, but you don't do an unsetup step here. Like you remove the kingdom pile, but the horses are still sitting there. It doesn't matter if you can't gain the horses, not really. But the horse pile will still be sitting there. I mean, I guess the reason it does matter is because the fact that the horse pile doesn't get removed means that your horse will go back to the horse pile if you play it. Like, as opposed to being like, I don't have a pile to return to, so I guess I'm staying in your deck. The spirits thing, like, it doesn't really matter if if Exorcist was on the board and nothing else to gain spirits, and the Exorcist goes away, there's not going to be a way to gain those spirits now. So like whatever, they'll still be sitting there. But the reason I was thinking about it with travelers is specifically because like, can you still keep going up the line? And I think the answer is going to be that if you have a peasant or page, you cannot exchange it because it doesn't have a pile to return to. But if you have like a soldier, you can exchange that for a fugitive because it does have somewhere to go. I could be wrong about that though. I'm not like confident in this, but that's my expectation. And of course, that was the most important thing to think about with this prophecy.
Okay. So it's not like it doesn't touch landscapes.
It doesn't touch landscapes.
It doesn't touch like loot pile, black market deck, stuff like that.
Well, it might make the black market deck inaccessible because the black market would
and
go
the
away.
loots. Yeah.
Yeah, it could make the loot inaccessible depending
and horses.
on right,
Yeah.
right, depending
and
on
spirits. Yes.
right. Zombies will still be in the trash if Necromancer was there.
Yeah.
Like mostly this is just silly. I mean, it really is. Like you have no way. All you know is that the piles that are there aren't going to be there. But that's a very small amount of information about what the kingdom is going to be.
Well,
once you exchange the cards or
10
remove the cards,
new random piles kind of means that you could have like randomly one of the old ones, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so. I would interpret new to mean different.
Okay.
But
So it's like if you play IRL, you just put the 10 away and then you look at what you have left.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
Then you draw 10.
I would. My natural reading of this is that they should be different piles, but you could interpret it as like you have like your randomizer deck, right? And you shuffle the randomizer deck, and that includes the randomizers you already picked for this game. It could mean that. I don't know. Here's another thing. Way of the Butterfly, like, or what else, like, would work that way? I don't know, but whatever. I mean, Ambassador, but that doesn't exist anymore. But Way of the Butterfly, if you try to like exchange like butterfly a card that where its kingdom pile got removed, like again, that will fail because it won't have anywhere to go. Yeah. But yeah, but my point was just that like you like whether or not you can have a repeat of the pile like barely matters because that's almost never going to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
I shouldn't say almost never. I mean, it's not that uncommon to have like a back to back kingdoms with like a pile or two in common, but that it's more like it's just that it's going to be completely unpredictable. Like you just have no idea what's going to happen in the kingdom, and I guess maybe one thing from like an analysis standpoint is that means this favors whoever's losing like to just like flip. It's basically like I'm behind, let me just like flip the table. It's like of course that doesn't necessarily,
it doesn't guarantee,
right? Like if somebody's deck is humming along and they can just like keep going, like without needing more of whatever they were already doing, it kind of depends on the timing.
To me that sounds like trying to get around the 10 pile limit.
In a way, yeah, because if you lower a pile or even empty it, it doesn't actually matter because, like...
I'm just, like, combining 2 games into one.
What happens if... Okay, it says remove all kingdom card piles. So if Young Witch is in the kingdom, you go from 11 piles to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, like, you do clean up that 11th pile.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds really fun.
It
sounds really fun. I can't wait to play with it.
It's utterly ridiculous. Like I said, I think this is like the single most ridiculous thing that has ever been printed in Dominion.
What was the last one before?
I don't know. This is just like so clearly the winner now. I mean, possibly the answer is one of the previous prophecies that we've had previewed this week.
Yeah. No, I
mean, I guess that wouldn't have been printed before this, but like, you know,
I think it's brilliant. I love it.
It is the product of what's the adjective that I'm looking for?
I don't even know where you're going with this, so I don't know.
It's like product of an adjective mind, and then like what is the adjective? I don't know, but it's
Donald X would say a brilliant mind.
I imagine he would, yes. And I feel like that is like that covers part but not all of
a reckless mind, I would say.
A reckless mind. Well, I hope Donald X's mind isn't reckless, because that would mean that like after he uses it twice, he has to return it. So that doesn't sound very safe.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk about the art. It's not what you wanted to do, but we will do it. So I will say, especially after the card art quizzes that you compiled, I feel like we have a lot of this type of imagery. This is different. I know it's like the style of the boat is different, and like it's not about actually like the ships, but it's about the wave. But I have to admit I am a little tired of this type of motif. However, I acknowledge that like especially the wave, like with this theme of the expansion and like being centered around Japan, I understand that like it's like you want to have one card at least that has like the wave, I guess, because it's just like very emblematic and it's what like people think of, blah blah blah. So this just, I don't know, I would say it's like mid for me.
I think it's pretty good. Here I think the fact that the color is pretty well matched like works to its benefit.
That's true.
And I like the detail on the water. I think it looks nice. The ships are a little dull, but that's okay. All right, next up, well, I guess just before we move on, since I've been emphasizing so much about like it's being ridiculous or whatever, you kept saying it's fun and like you want to play with it. I want to play with it too. I want to see what like absolutely wild and crazy shenanigans it produces. I think I could see myself like really raging at this, if it's just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
totally undercuts me or whatever. But but I don't know, like it's like, it does seem, it actually, I feel like it's actually like going to be very skill testy as well, like how like adaptive are you to like suddenly being faced with this new kingdom. It'll also be like one of the things that we always talk about with, like, you know, when we're evaluating cards and events and all this stuff, is the opening. The like, you know, the opening is like a really significant part of the game, and you think about, you know, like, is this good in the opening, like how do I get to this thing? And then like with Divine Wind, like all of a sudden, like this new kingdom, like that isn't a consideration at all. Like it's just like a completely different context. So like it's not just like, oh, now you're playing this other kingdom. You're gonna have a deck already, right? Like, like you're, I mean,
it's
it may not be like a complete deck yet, but like you're not.
That's why I meant, like, it's still important, like what you do in those first 7 to 8 turns.
Oh yeah, but I'm talking about with the new kingdom. When the new kingdom turns over, like the value of cards that are like specifically good in the opening is just going to be different. Like you're it's not like, for sure. Like here's my steward, like I better get that. Like quite possibly not, right? Like quite possibly you don't care about steward at all because you're like, well, I already trashed.
Which I think is really fun, because then like you see a new kingdom and you're like, oh, I don't have to like try and hit 5. Like I don't
need to get this chapel. Like I don't care.
Exactly.
Like, I can
get my rice.
Yeah, I think that's like a really like going to be like being able to, I mean, it's like nobody I think is going to have too much trouble recognizing that like Chapel is like a less good card in that context than it is like, you know, normally, right? But I think recognizing in other places where your normal heuristics for like evaluating a kingdom don't apply once the like Divine Wind activates is going to be like part of like what is skill testing about this. So I think that's cool. Okay, so let's talk about Amass, which is a 2-cost event. If you have no action cards in play, gain an action card costing up to 5. Well, that sure seems strong in the opening. Speaking of openings,
so this is like Alms 2.0.
Yeah, but like, well, it's not it's not like better in the general case than Alms, but it's sure better early. Like you just have like, how do you even, it is, I guess it is possible to fail to cleanly have 2 coins in the opening if you have triple estate or triple shelter, copper, cursed gold. That's like pretty much the only case where you can't just like open double Amass if you want to.
With cursed gold?
Well, I mean, you can, but maybe you don't want to. Like put it this way: the double, if double Amass,
isn't that like great if Recruiter's there? Shouldn't you like just get 2?
Well, potentially, but my point is like you might not want to take the curse sometimes if with that specific situation. Sure. Other than that, it's just like completely.
It's like this. What was the other event that lets you? What was the thing where you buy a card and then you have to pay you trash the card and you
credit?
Have to...
Oh no, change is the trash one and credit is the like
credit. It seems like another one of those events that just like boosts your opening, right?
Yeah, except this one doesn't like cost you anything like relevant in the opening. I mean, later it will. Yeah. Like it'll be hard to use this once you get going a little bit, but like in the opening, like you just click this twice and you get whatever cards like you want, like up to 5. Like, okay, if you want an altar, it's not going to get you an altar, but like it's just crazy. Like it's like so good. Like what?
Yeah, it's really good.
Like just the value in the opening alone is so good that it like doesn't really matter if you don't have an opportunity to use it the rest of the game.
Yeah, it just really plays into, or it just like reconfirms my impression of most of the cards that we have reviewed so far, just like trying to speed things up and just like trying to accelerate the game.
Yeah, I'm like I get the rationale behind this in the sense that like as time goes on it will become very difficult to utilize. And so it's legitimately like there's like a whole thing where it's okay, like how do I actually like take advantage of this? And there will be times when you can, right? Like you have,
if you play a slog,
well, no, I mean, sure, but that's not what I was getting at. Like, I was thinking, like, you have launch, you have Villa, you have cavalry, you have continue.
But you still have action cards in play.
No, not necessarily, right? You
with
play
Villa.
Not.
Oh, if you don't play the Villa.
Yeah, you buy Amass, you buy Villa, and then you continue your turn. You buy Amass, you buy launch, and you continue your turn. I mean, you're gonna have some payload to make that work.
I was walk me through how that looks like with Villa. If you don't play the Villa, you pay like your 4 coins.
So you have like, let's say that you have like 2 loot in your hand and some other stuff. You play your 2 loots, you buy Amass, you get 5. You buy a Villa, you get the Villa, and then you continue on with your turn.
Oh, you're not you just start your turn basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. It's it's kind of like landing party tricks, right? So it's like for the cost of, I mean, so depending on, or like you buy Journey or whatever, like like for the cost of like, so like if you want a Villa and a 5 for 6 coins, like, there you go, like it's good. Or if you like would want to buy launch anyway, like you need the plus action, you need the card or whatever, then you can buy like Amass and launch for 5 coins. You get your 5 cost for your 5 coins, but you also get the launch effect. Or, like there's like, that's not going to be trivial, to be clear. Like it's like, to have enough like stuff in your starting hand that you can do this without playing an action. But it will come up. But mostly this is just like absolutely bonkers good in the opening, and it's wild. Like we're just like, okay, every opening is 5/5 now. It's just like whatever.
It's very democratic.
Yeah, and of course, if you bottom deck your openings, like whatever, you can just amass again and get another 5. Like who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
What do you think about the art?
I don't even know what's going on in that art.
Yeah, I find it confusing. I feel like if the person would have a smaller object in their hands, that would be favorable. The perspective is very challenging.
Yeah.
I
think it's like a top down view,
and
but
you have like a little Buddha
are they
on the left.
Are they like in a hole? Like
it feels like what do you call this? I don't know, in German you would say Schacht. Like somewhere in a mountain or whatever, and you have like the cylinder, a hollow. Like this is what it looks like to me.
Yeah, like a
shaft?
Yeah.
A shaft.
But like
why?
How did they get down there, and how are they getting back out? I don't know.
Well, it looks to me like they're on, or doesn't look like it to me, but like, I would imagine that they're coming up a stairs or something.
Maybe, but there's like rock all around, and like I don't know how they're gonna get all the way out unless it's shallower than I think it is. I don't know. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I'm not in love with the art.
Yeah, I mean, if I look at this like kind of at a glance without like paying attention, it looks like something completely different. Like it's like a cave entrance, and there's like a big, like there's some like jewels sticking to rocks, and like I don't know what it just doesn't like parse easily.
Yeah, to me it's mostly because of this thing that the person has in their hands.
Yeah,
that's just, what is this?
Yeah. It's a duck.
A duck. Quack.
Okay. All right. moving on to the final one.
Kintsugi, a 3-cost event. Trash a card from your hand. If you've gained a gold this game, gain a card costing up to 2 more than the trashed card. Let me get the art out of the way. It's too busy. I kind of know what I'm looking at, but kind of don't. Yeah, I don't. But also, I don't know what Kintsugi is. Maybe you do.
I do. And I didn't know the word for this, but I'd heard of the thing. Like when people were guessing the things, so I had to like look it up, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, that thing. So it's this thing where it's like an art form where you repair things, like in this case pottery. Like,
oh, I see. Yeah. I know what you mean. But like, how did I?
I don't think it does a good job of capturing.
Not at all, and that's like the background. Like, if you want to draw attention to what is in the foreground, I feel like I don't have to explain this to anyone, but like, maybe I'm still missing a part of it. Maybe it's like more in a tradition. It's important to have like the shrines in the background, but like this is very confusing to look at.
Yeah. No, I don't think it. Like, I want to see like a detailed enough view that I can see like the glue or whatever, like to evoke like this is what this thing is. Like, because looking at this, if you didn't have that name on there, I would have no idea that wasn't just like a pot, and kind of a weird pot, like because of the color, but like it's just a pot, like with some designs on it. Like, okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too. I don't want to assume too much, but just like judging by the name of the artist, I feel like maybe they were anxious about like, I want to portray, like I want to like hit you over the head with this is this culture, and I feel like maybe like you said, if it would just have been like this more detailed, more simple like motif that would have come across better. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think it is a little bit tough with the landscapes. Like sometimes when the thing that you want to focus on is not like wide, and it's, if anything, it's tall, which is the case here. Although, I mean, you could just have like a very, like you'd have like a bowl or something, like something that's like broad and shallow. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, it could totally be that I just am unaware of that cultural practice, where maybe it is the case that like it is all about the face, or like, right, the spirits or whatever.
Definitely not the impression that I've got, but I obviously am not an expert on this either.
Yeah.
I have the impression that it's just like a thing that, you know, some people do, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. It's a miss for me.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we think of this effect? You trash a card, and then if you have gained a gold, not this turn, but this game, gain a card costing up to 2 more than the trashed card.
Yeah, so this is like if you can kind of compare this to Enhance. Well, you can definitely compare it to Enhance.
Yeah.
So Enhance like wants to solve a problem. The problem is, why aren't you just going to trash 2 estates in the opening and gain, 2 4 costs or whatever? And the solution is you can't trash victory cards. Kintsugi just takes a different approach to this problem and says you need to have gained a gold, which you won't have done in the opening.
Yes.
You can still trash 2 estates, but you haven't gained anything. So that's, the equivalent of scrounge, which is like, sometimes you do that in the opening or banish in the opening, but it's not that exciting. So, I think that's basically what's going on here.
I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, the way that Enhance is pretty cool, like in the later game or the end game, where it just gives you another way to gain province.
Yeah, and if and it's better is so long as you gain that gold, it's better than enhance because it doesn't have the non-victory card restriction. If you don't gain a gold, then it's better at trashing coppers most of the time, but that isn't really saying a lot because it's obviously it's better at trashing estates because it can do it at all. Trashing coppers, like, you know, paying 3 coins to trash 1 copper, generally not a great deal. I mean, you will occasionally do it with bonfire, but at least you got to play the copper there. Like this. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to use it as your copper trasher basically ever, unless you can turn the coppers into 2 costs, and then maybe you would, like, maybe that's worth it, depending on what the 2 cost is. But yeah, mostly, you know, the fact that it can trash estates is nice. Like, I don't know how often you're actually going to do that. I mean, I think opening like 4 cost and then trash an estate will be like a reasonably common thing to do if you compare this to Banish, right? You Banish cost 4, so you can't combine it with a 4 cost under normal circumstances, but with this you can. Like, you don't get the BP, but like, whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think opening this will be reasonably common. I'm not exactly sure how common, but reasonably common. You know, keep a 10 card deck, you're guaranteed a clean shuffle. You can't bottom deck your 4 cost opener. So that's pretty nice. I think the amount of times you're going to actually end up remodeling estates with this is going to be quite small because it's not going to be worth waiting that long to get rid of your estates.
Yeah.
So mostly I think the remodel effect, like you say, is going to be more about like scoring. You know, maybe you use it like to turn like silvers into 5s or something somewhere along the way, but I don't know that it's going to be that common to try to go out of your way to get a gold early in the game so that you can use this as like an early remodel. I think that's going to be like, it's going to be fairly rare that like it's that important to have like bi-phase remodel like early in the game. But yeah, I think to me, I mean, guys, overall, I guess to me this looks like better than enhance. I think the primary exception to that would be with shelters, where enhance can turn a shelter into a 3 cost right out of the gate, and all this can do is get rid of the shelter. Sometimes turning trashing a shelter is better than remodeling it, but mostly remodeling it is going to be better. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can check out what Donald X had to say about these landscapes.
Yes. Divine Wind sweeps the board clean and refills it with who knows what. Try to get everything you need from the first set of 10 before it blows through. Yeah. Definitely. Amass means the early turns can be spent taking exactly what you want and sometimes a later turn. Kintsugi is a trashing event that turns into a remodel once you can fill in the cracks with gold. Ah, that's a very nice description. That's the previews.
Yeah.
All right.
Tomorrow, TGG will have the digital cards, and Dominion.games may be letting people play the set on another server over the weekend. Physical versions will be available in Europe in around a week, and in the US around 3 weeks, and in Japan a bit later than that. So as I already mentioned yesterday, I will be going through the full set once the rulebook is out. So, you know, look forward to that.
Yeah. I don't think I will be there for the whole duration of this, so I will just say that it sounds like it's going to be an amazing expansion. So Donald X, you've done a terrific job, I think. Thank you. This is I'm very excited about this.
This expansion looks so complex. Great job, Donald X.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I think, I mean, we'll see what the rest of the expansion looks like, but so far I like I said, I mean, I have trouble separating what I thought of the other expansions, like, you know, at the moment they were
Yeah.
being previewed versus
Yeah.
later. But I do think putting aside what I thought about them up front, I do think this expansion looks like more compelling than other recent expansions, which is not meant as a knock on those expansions. I just think this one looks really cool.
Yeah, it looks extremely promising.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, that will do it for today and for previews. Next up will be, I don't know, first impressions. I guess that's the term for it. First impressions of the rest of the set.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for watching, and until then.
Goodbye.